Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. I'm Colin, and today we're going to be doing a review of the new Bill Murray album, American Motorsports. Now, this is the latest full length LP from multi instrumentalist, guitarist, singer, songwriter Bill Murray, and it's definitely, in my opinion, one of his better albums to date. But before we get into the music itself, I want to do a brief review of the actual vinyl. So this came in, I want to say about 4 or 5 days after the album was released, which is not bad. I've done a lot of pre-releases where we don't get the actual physical copy until maybe like a week or two, even after the album is released on like streaming and download and stuff like that. This album in particular, I think, was packaged really well, but I do have a couple issues with it. Number one, it did not come shrink wrapped. It came just loose in this exterior sleeve, which I don't mind. I do like them giving an external sleeve, but like just spend the extra dollars, shrink wrap it. It just makes it that much better. I realize Bill Murray, Johnny Frank, he does all of his own stuff. So obviously, there's an extra cost involved with that, but it really does just up the value of the physical release itself. There was a few different versions that came out. The particular one I got was the red record. Just good, opaque, solid red. I do like just solid colored vinyls. I think a couple of the other ones I got from Bill Murray are like swirled or splatter or stuff like that. But there is something to be said about just a solid color. I will say before we get into the music at itself, I do have a couple issues with this release. Number one, he released 6 of the songs off this album as singles. Now, this is a trend that I'm seeing more and more and more, and honestly, it's kind of bothers me. I like being surprised on some tracks when I give an album its first like full listen. If you're going to be releasing over half the tracks as singles, you're kind of ruining that experience for a lot of people. I know today's day and age, especially with streaming, you are just trying to get the songs out and get as many plays and listens as possible. But I do think it takes away a little bit from the actual listening experience of the album. So I think if you're going to, release that many songs as singles, you do need to make sure that you're not giving away the entire album. There's actually a couple songs that were released as singles that don't appear on the album, specifically About a Cashew and Livin', Laughin', Lovin'. Both songs that belong on this album, honestly, because they are just like hardcore, heavy country bangers. I don't get why they wouldn't be included, especially if you're like self-releasing all your own stuff. But, it's not my album, so I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, let's dive into the music itself. So overall, I have to say this is probably one of my favorite projects or favorite releases that Bill Murray has done. It is definitely, I would say, one of his more unique releases that he's done. It's kind of just country or pop country with breakdowns, which I'm not really a pop country guy. I like my country kind of more outlaw, twangy, more alternative. But I do have to admit, I really, really enjoyed this. I guess it just took heavy breakdowns and down tuning to get me to actually enjoy pop country. Especially there's a couple songs on this album that do feature actual legitimate country artists, specifically Empty Handed, which features Dylan Marlowe, and then All Gas, which features Mitchell Tenpenny. Then he's got a couple other features on here, bringing back Knox, who was on Goblin Hours, as well as the pop rock band Arizona on Straight Through You. Now, those songs are very, very good. The one with Knox is 2016 Cavaliers, parentheses, Ohio. But I think they're both kind of almost a little bit misplaced on the album, as they do lean a little bit away from the country theme and more into just like pop rock with, again, like a heavier, sort of guitar riffs and breakdowns in the middle, which is what Bill Murray's been doing on the last few releases. So I think, having those songs in there definitely help make the album not quite as one-sided. They just do stand out a little bit as different. But other than that, I honestly think that like every single song on this album is a banger. Even the slower ones like "Miss Me," which is just a straight up pop country ballad, again with a pretty heavy breakdown in the middle of it. Honestly, I really enjoy it. I love Bill Murray. I think anytime he goes in a slightly new or different direction, he does it really well. All of his songs really kind of have very similar themes of heartbreak and dealing with your own personal issues and grief, and what better way to portray those emotions than in a country album. The opening track, Better Hell, is absolutely incredible. I think it was, if not the first, one of the first singles he released from the album. All Gas might be the first one, the song with Mitch Tenpenny. Honestly, they're both absolutely great. I will say Spinning You Around might be one of my favorite sleeper tracks on the album. It's got a great kind of combination of softer ballad, poppy vocal hooks, poppy melodies, but definitely one of the heavier breakdowns on the album itself. I think that the way he's tuned his guitars to, kind of sit against the more twangy instrumentation of a lot of the country aesthetics that he's added to it is really, really effective. Honestly, it's probably going to be one of my favorite albums of the year, even though I have some issues with it. I definitely think that it should have been longer. He should have included the two other singles on here. I don't understand why. Artists need to stop shying away from long albums. I mean, it's coming in at 10 songs and not even 30 minutes. It's 28 minutes and 14 seconds. So it definitely could have been longer. First standalone release that I've gotten from him. Every other record that I've bought since Eggy Pocket, which is when I first got into him, had one of his early albums on the B side. So with Eggy Pocket, it was Taco. With 400-pound back squat, it was Banana. And then with Goblin Hours, it was Letters. So, having this be a standalone album, I think he definitely could have included those other two tracks, and there wouldn't have been an issue. But again, outside of those gripes and the fact that he released 6 out of the 10 tracks before the album was released, I do think it's a really good album. I'm going to give it a solid B. Again, I think it could be better, but for what it is, it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't given a listen to it yet, definitely check it out, especially if you're a fan of like pop country and metal music. I don't think there's a better or even another combination out there that makes as much sense as this one does. And it's definitely worth checking out. All right. Peace.